Hey guys, I hope you're having an incredible day. Today we're going to be connecting Vapi to Voiceflow, and we're going to be using a tool called Voice Glo in order to be able to do that. And here you can see the build within Voiceflow that we're going to be able to build out. And the reason I wanted to do this is because within Vapi, right, you're limited solely to a text prompt. You can build up multiple assistants, you can connect them in squads and pass conversation off amongst one another. But when using tools, sometimes it won't capture the right information or it'll fire webhooks at incorrect times because it is just following a prompt. And I know in terms of building robust solutions from my experience with Voiceflow in the past that are much better at capturing variables, saving those variables, and executing on functions to push those values to CRMs, to book into calendars, or whatever else in terms of achieving more complex operations. Now, if you don't know what Voiceflow is, it's just a chatbot builder, which is very simple to use with a friendly user interface where you can just drag and drop blocks just like this and create a flow for how you want that chatbot to act. This greatly simplifies building conversational flows without needing to code. And another great thing is that you can test your agent by simply texting to it. And so you can get out a lot of the bugs versus through Vapi, you have to consistently talk with your assistant and work through those bugs, which means that you're usually able to iterate faster because you are texting compared to talking. Another cool thing is that you can create intents such as booking meetings into calendars, frequently asked questions, ending the call, and other features, and Voiceflow will just pick up on these cues and guide you to that portion of the conversation. Now, this can be a double-edged sword because sometimes the intent recognition can misclassify user responses. And one of the issues that I ran into when doing this build was it had difficulty distinguishing between frequently asked questions and qualifying questions, because the way that I build my voice agents is always based on three main principles, which is to address any sort of objections or frequently asked questions that the customer might have, then ask qualifying questions about who that client is and if they're actually a good fit to do business with the company, and then lastly to book meetings directly into the calendar. Now, one of the things that I noticed when creating my frequently asked question intent, as you can see some of the utterances here, so what kind of support do you offer to new customers, and a bunch of other questions that a typical client might ask an AI business. When it got to the point where they were asked, what does your business currently offer? If I were to reply with something named marketing, it would interpret that answer as a question and not actually capture that user reply. And so it would always jump back into the frequently asked questions intent. And so that's why it's really important to very thoroughly test your AI agents if you are going to be building them in Voiceflow. Now, Vapi just recently introduced this block section into their platform. They are currently in beta, and this is to increase the likelihood that the tools capture the right responses that you require. And in a future video, this is something that I could build out if you are interested. But for today, we're solely going to be focused on how you can connect Vapi to Voiceflow and how you can leverage the capabilities that Voiceflow has in terms of intent classification, create an AI voice agent. And if this is something that you're interested in implementing for your own business, then let's hop on a call and chat and see how we can create either an inbound customer service agent to handle calls 24/7 or an outbound agent to qualify new leads coming through your pipeline. Now, with that being said, let's hop into how we can build this step by step. So first and foremost, you're going to need to sign up for a Voice Glo account. So this is it right here, voiceglo.org. Just sign up. And then you can come into the agents tab. You have your agents here, and then right up here you can click on new agent. And so now we're going to have to give it an agent name. I'm going to give it the AI assistant, and we can choose this right here, advanced Voiceflow plus Voice Glo. Then we're going to hit create. And so now we're going to have to connect our Voiceflow account to our Voice Glo assistant. So you can see right here we have a Voiceflow API key as well as a project ID. So what you're going to have to do is go into Voiceflow and create an account or sign in. So now you can just come up here, you can click new agent. Once again, enter your agent name. Mine's going to be the AI assistant. You can keep it as a chat when you hit get started. Now, if you're building this out for a company, you could import a URL of that company and they'll go and scrape that web page and make a knowledge base from that. But for now, we're just going to pass that. We're going to hit import, and it's going to start creating that agent. So you can come up here, hit new workflow. Once again, we'll call it the AI assistant, and we'll create that workflow. Then you can come into the workflow. So I just clicked on the home, edit workflow. We're going to delete all this. And now we have a fresh blank slate starting where it just says start, right? And so before we go any further, we're just going to hit back on this back tab. We're going to click down here on integrations. And then if we click on API keys, you'll see that we have our API key right here. So we're going to copy that API key. We're going to head back into our Voice Glo and we're going to paste it in our Voiceflow API key right here. And now we'll head back to Voiceflow. We'll click on web chat and then we have the project ID, which is right here. We'll copy that project ID. We'll head back into Voice Glo and we'll paste it right here and we'll hit save. And now if we come into channels, if you click on channels within Voice Glo, you'll see that there's a few different options here. So it's pretty impressive, honestly, right? You got your voice setup, which is what we'll be connecting to today, powered by Vapi. So that's where you click the voice setup. But I just wanted to also show you that it can connect to Discord. It can connect to Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp. So, you know, you have a ton of options here. For today, we're going to be connecting it to Vapi because that's what we're interested in. We want to get that voice agent set up. So if we head into our Vapi dashboard right now and we go to our assistants, we can just go ahead, we can create a new assistant. I'm going to call this one AI assistant and we can just set up a blank template for now. We're going to hit create assistant. We click on our name and API keys. It'll bring up both your private and your public API keys. And if you go back into Voice Glo and you click down here on credentials, you'll see that there's a public and a private API key where you can paste those in. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And then once we've done that, we can hit save. Now we can head back into Vapi. We can click on assistants. We can click on the one that we just made and you'll see right here that there's an assistant ID. So we're going to copy that assistant ID. And if we go back into our agents and we click on our specific agent, we click on channels, we can paste in our Vapi assistant ID right here, hit save, and you can see that Vapi has now been connected to our agency. And then don't forget to turn this on, use Voiceflow agent, and this will just overwrite the large language model that's built into Vapi. It won't use the prompt, it'll just use Voiceflow instead. We're gonna hit save. And if we come back to Vapi, we click on our assistant, go to our AI assistant, and we hit refresh. Now see that it has a custom LLM URL and it has successfully been connected to Voice Glo. All right guys, so now that that's successful, we can come back into Voiceflow. We can click on our workflow and we can edit that workflow. And now we can start from scratch. So now if we back out of here, we can come into intents. We're gonna create 3 intents. First one is going to be FAQ. So trigger this intent when the customer has a question about our services. So we're gonna build the FAQ, which is answering frequently asked questions about the company's services and solutions. Then for potential utterances, what services does your company offer? Right? Can you tell me more about your AI voice agents? How do your AI chatbot works on social media platforms? Do you provide custom automation solutions? What are your pricing plans? Which platforms are your chatbots compatible with? How can your services benefit my business? Do you have any case studies or client testimonials? What's the difference between inbound and outbound voice agents? And can your solutions integrate with our existing systems? So you can see that it's pretty strong now. It's turned green. At the beginning it was red. You can also go ahead and generate more sample phrases if you want. And there you go. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to create that intent. We have the first one completed. You can see we have confidence 100 of 100. So the intent contains enough phrases to maintain a high level of accuracy. So now whenever we're speaking to it, we want to ask that specific thing, or we have any questions about the company, it'll directly jump into the frequently asked questions and guide it down that. So the next intent is going to be booking meeting into calendar. And we can just add this in. I'd like to schedule a meeting to learn more. Right? Can we set up a time to discuss this further? Let's arrange a call to go over the options. Do you have availability next week for a meeting? I'd like to book a demo session. When can we meet to talk about implementing your services? Can we schedule a consultation? I'd like to see how your solutions can fit our needs. Let's set up an appointment to discuss pricing. And what's the best way to schedule a meeting with your team? We're going to go ahead. We're going to create. Oh, we need a description as well. So the description is just scheduling an appointment to discuss services and solutions and details with potential customers. We're going to go ahead and create that intent. You can see confidence 100 out of 100. Okay, guys, so now we'll go back to edit our workflow. We can add a trigger, and that trigger, just hit plus, and we have our 2 intents that we just created now. First one being FAQ, and the second one being the booking a meeting into calendar. And now we can start to build out the flow of the conversation. All right, guys, so the basic setup that I've configured here right now, and we're going to build everything out. So if you follow along, you'll have everything. But in Vapi dashboard, right, the opening message is, hi, I'm an AI assistant. How are you doing today? And then you would talk with the assistant. And I had to try a few different things to get that initial message to trigger. So the first one is we're going to capture the reply here. And then we use come in here, set AI. So essentially what that is we're applying an AI response to a variable. So this is what I called opening response. And then I said, you've just begun a conversation with a potential client. You just asked them how they're doing and they responded with last utterance. So what they replied. Please respond to them in a polite, professional manner and ask them if they have any questions about our services. Keep your response to 2 sentences, one to respond to how they are doing, and the second to ask if they have any questions about our services, and then apply it to opening response. So I just created a new variable and I called it opening response. And then I set the message. So I took this message here, which is opening response. So now if they were to say, yeah, I'd like to book a meeting into the calendar, it would come here, it would follow this flow, and then we can have a loop for FAQ, which would just be capture entire user reply to last utterance. We're going to be using set AI. So the prompt is, you have just asked the user if they have any questions about our services. They ask the following question, and we're going to pass the last utterance. Please respond in a few sentences max to be succinct and clear, and we'll save that to last response, and we're just going to call it FAQ response, and we're going to be using the knowledge base. And then we're going to toss in another message after that. Did you have any more questions? Right? And obviously we can generate 5 variants. These are all different questions. Perfect. All right, guys. So I just added under listen this choice block, and essentially the choice block listens for an intent. So we're going to create 2 more intents. One's going to be yes, one's going to be no. So essentially, if they don't have any more questions, we're going to proceed to qualify them and then book them into a call. And if they do have more questions, then we'll just run this in an infinite loop using the knowledge base to answer their questions. So we're going to back out of here. I'm going to click on intents, and we're going to create 2 new intents. Okay, so these are the different utterances that I came up with. Absolutely, definitely, sure, yep, indeed, yes I do, yeah, yes. Okay, we're going to hit create, and then we're going to do the same thing. This new intent is going to be no. It's going to be when user replies no, and we're just going to create a bunch of those too. All right, so same thing here. Here are the different utterances, and we're going to go ahead and hit create intent there. We're going to create one more intent that I forgot to create. So this intent is going to be to end the call, and we can toss in sample phrases like goodbye, bye, and I believe I created a bunch here. Okay, I need to go. Bye for now. I've got to run. Goodbye. I think we're done here. Goodbye. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. I will talk to you later. Bye. It was great talking to you. Goodbye. I have to go now, right? So all these different sample phrases, and we'll go ahead and create that intent too, and then we can pop back into our workflow. We're going to edit that workflow. We'll toss in the end call trigger right here. So we just right click add trigger, and we'll add in that end call. We'll connect it to this block here, and all I did was thank the user and say goodbye using the response AI. That's the prompt, and then the agent ends in the current state. So to do that, you just come into logic and drag in the end, and that'll end the call. All right, so we're going to listen for an intent. We're going to select the 2 intents. We're going to select yes as one intent. We're going to add a second choice, and that choice is going to be no. So those are the 2 choices. If they answer yes, we'll route them back to capturing the user reply, and then it'll loop back up, and that'll come down here. So you can kind of see how this flow happens. I'll just try and make it a little nicer here. So if they answer no, we're going to move them into the qualifying questions phase. It's going to be a few different questions. Okay, so the first one is, what does your business currently offer? You know what they currently offer in order to solve that problem for them. And then we're going to capture that response, and we're going to create a new variable. We're just going to call it business offering. There we go. And if you are still following up to this point, if you could drop a subscribe, it's free and really helps support the channel. That would be awesome. It allows me to continue making more videos like this in the future. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to ask the second question. Okay, there we go. So I got a couple different variations. And then once again, we're going to listen. We're going to capture the user reply, and we're going to create a new variable. And this one is going to be called, just going to call it AI goals. Create that variable. You can just duplicate this block. Okay, next one is budget. So do you have a budget in mind for this project? And then this one is going to be budget. Create that variable, and then we can toss in one more. So I'll rename this budget, and then we're going to toss in one more, and that's going to be a timeline, right? So this is the timeline, and we'll listen and we'll capture the user reply to timeline. And then we're going to create another variable here, and you'll see why in a second. This one's just going to be qualifying questions, and we'll hit create variable. We'll set the value to true. We'll say qualifying questions are now complete, and we'll link that here. And now we'll come and unlink this, and we'll bring it down here, and we'll say if the condition, if this variable, right, the variable is going to be qualifying questions is true, then proceed to book a call. And otherwise, if there's no match,
And if qualifying questions is not true, we'll just proceed down here to the choice block. So actually this should come after the choice block because it's only once they answer no that we should proceed to this step. So we're gonna link this here. Do you have any more questions? If no, then that goes here. So if no, it comes down here. And if it's not true, then we go to the business offering. Perfect. And then it asks those questions, and then it sets qualifying questions equal to true. Okay, so now we'll build out the booking a meeting portion. So we'll set this to name. Can I get your name? It's going to capture their name. Can I get your email? Same thing, we're going to capture their email. So I'll call this email, create that variable. And then lastly, we'll get their phone number. Okay, can I get your phone number? And then we'll capture the user reply to phone number. Okay, now we're going to ask what time works best for them. So when would you like to book an appointment? We're going to capture the reply, and we'll just also create another variable. It's going to be time slot. Review do requested time slot. Create that variable. Okay, and then another thing we're going to do too is we're going to copy this qualifying question portion or duplicate it. We're going to bring it up here. We have our booked meeting intent, and because we want to ask them questions before we proceed to booking them into a meeting so we know more about that person. So if qualifying questions is true, we'll move them down here. But if it's false, we'll just reroute them to business offering, right? To the questions, just like that. And they'll loop through. Qualifying questions will be set to true. And once qualifying questions is set to true, we'll loop them up to, let me know what time that works for you. All right, guys, I just went ahead and added in this knowledge base right here, which is this, just has different services. So AI voice agent, chatbot, custom automations and funnels. Then I loaded it in here, and then I went back to the workflows, back to home. I edited the workflow. I hit run, and right here I hit train agent. So my agent was trained, and then I published that. So I was getting this weird thing that was happening where whenever I'd say good you, it would jump to the frequently asked questions intent. So I just added this other intent right here, which is the greeting responses, and included a bunch of common responses. Then we're going to head back in our workflow, and we're just going to add a new trigger. That trigger is going to be the greeting responses, and we're going to toss it in right here. One of the cool things about working with Voiceflow is that you can test a lot of the responses directly through chat. So you don't actually have to actually speak to your agent 100 times on the phone. And so now once it captures that reply, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. You? Oh, it comes down here to the greeting responses, and then it's going to respond. And then we're going to loop it down to new block, which is a choice, and we're going to be listening for an intent, and that intent is going to be yes or no. All right, guys, so I added in a bit more logic to this agent. So it's essentially saying, you know, from the start, oh, I'm doing good, you. So it captures the reply, and the intent is, okay, this person is you know, providing me with a greeting. So it sets the variable, then it responds to them. So it's going to respond back saying, great, do you have any questions about any of our services? Now if they were to just say yes, then it sends them to what is your question, captures the response, and then answers it, and then asks if they have any more questions, captures the response, and yeah, pretty much just goes in a loop like that. And if they say no, then it brings them down to qualifying questions, where it'll qualify them and then book them into a call. Or if they say no directly out of the gate, they don't have any questions, then it'll ask them questions about their business. And then for booking them into a call, we capture all that information, and then we're going to do an HTTP request. It's a post request, and then we would just get we'd go to make. I mean, there's different ways to do this. Is the way that I'm doing it, but you can contain everything directly within Voiceflow if you really want it. And then you would just set up a custom webhook. So, and this is the get availability path that we would create. So I'm going to copy this and bring it into a new workflow. I'm not going to go over this because I have a very detailed video breaking all of this down. It's the Vapi Go High Level and Calendly setup. But if you are looking to just download blueprints like this super easily, then I have them all in my community. Just paste all that in. You can delete this webhook. We won't be needing it because we'll add a new one. So custom webhook, and then we'll connect that, and we'll auto align. Now you can just add your webhook, copy that address to clipboard, head back into our AI assistant. That becomes the post URL, and then we just need the body, which is going to be name, and then the variable, which I believe we just set to name. You choose how you want to pass it. We'll do email, which is just going to be email, and then we're going to have phone number, which is going to be phone number, and then we'll have time slot, which is requested time slot. There we go. And then if you wanted to test it, you could send a request. You could enter in some information and hit generate. And if we go back in here, we can run this once. We'll test it again, resend that, and we should get that information. You can see it pass through here properly. Now we've collected all of that information, and then you could do your request. And if it's a success, the webhook response will be the JSON string, which will get passed to our AI assistant. And then you would just have, if success, proceed to book a meeting, which would be another webhook, which would trigger the second portion of that flow of the agent that I've already built out. So it would go down the booking route right here, right, and create a meeting now that we know that it's free. And then we could also send a confirmation email. And all of these would just be different webhooks. So that's how you can build out a pretty solid voice agent that's connected to Voiceflow and so integrated with Vapi to be able to make that call. So hope you got immense value out of this. And if you did, I'd appreciate if you drop a subscribe. It's free, really helps support the channel and allows me to continue making more videos like this. I hope you have an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.